Right, well, thank you, Josh.
Follow that.
Yeah.
Josh, that was brilliant.
Before I deliver my speech, there's a few telegrams I'd like to quickly read out. Firstly, from Colin and Judith Jackson, who unfortunately can't be here. They wish you a wonderful and a very happy future. And also from Robin and Sandra Thwaites, who are sunning it on the Gold Coast of Australia. I bet it's not raining there. Can I say all the love and best wishes on your wedding day? Right. Yes, quite a few people. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. I think we like to all go through, I can say from here, isn't it?
We're looking forward to this.
To put in perspective, this is the 5th time in the past 2 hours I've risen from a warm chair with a piece of paper in my hand. So please. When Josh asked me to make this speech, there's only one person I was going to ask for advice, and that was my father. He said, Tim, a good speech should be like a good pair of ladies' underwear. Short, brief, and only cover the bare essentials. So I'll do my best. First, may I congratulate bridesmaids. I say you're looking absolutely stunning. Only being outshone by Emma herself. Also, a big thank you to Rich and Lisa, and Joe and Helen, whom without today wouldn't be possible. Right, well, I've known Josh for the best part of 23 years. Plenty of stories I could tell, many far too inappropriate for today's audience. While I was thinking about some stories I could tell, there's the one that stands out from all others. It's not the time we got in a fight on my 5th birthday, which, for the record, I won. All the time Dad caught him throwing up after too much red wine at Charles's 18th. No, the story that stands in my mind the most was about 10. I was over at Park Farm for one of my many visits, and Josh had built a new den, which I'm very, very proud of. Most 10-year-olds' den would be a couple of pallets tied together with bale twine. Josh's was slightly different. As I walked in, I accidentally triggered a booby trap. I looked up to see a 6-foot wooden railway sleeper falling towards me. Crash, bang, wallop, and well, that's as much as I can remember of that story. It wasn't a surprise when Josh was the first out of my friends to pop the question. These two have been inseparable since the 4th day at college. In fact, the way I remember it, Josh and I were standing outside the dining hall, and Josh saw this lady walk across the courtyard. He said, Tim, I've just seen the girl I'm going to marry. It didn't take long. That night, while slightly intoxicated for the extra courage, he made his move. Pulling out all the stops, the charm, sophistication, and not to mention the red cords and favourite green suede jacket. Before she knew what happened, Emma was completely smitten. It wasn't long before we completed our first year at Cirencester. Josh passing with flying colours. Myself, passing. The next step was to move into our student house, Jarvis Quarry. Renowned for its wild parties, large mouse population, and not to mention Bert the Ghost. For Luke, Ben, Charlie and myself, this became our second home. For Josh, this is where he spent 4 nights. That works out at £1,250 per night for 32 days. Who says Josh hasn't got ahead for money? Every night, at exactly 6:30, and not a moment later, he would drive himself to Emma's house for a quick gourmet dinner before they would settle down for the second timed event of the evening. EastEnders. But before long, we were nearing our time at Cirencester. Weeks before the finals, Jarvis boys started the dangerous process of trying to fit 3 years' worth of lectures into little more than a month. But Josh wasn't phased. He left it a further 3 weeks. But during the exams, Josh was always a real help and always full of encouragement. After the helpful advice and encouragement he gave me in the morning of my first exam, he left me no option because I would build a sign for my door stating, "You can't say anything nice, you can bugger off. It wasn't long before we were all getting jobs, and Josh was back on the farm doing what he loves. Ever since I've known Josh, he's always wanted to farm. It's in my blood, he always tells me. This was proven on the first farm trip at Cirencester. When Josh realised he didn't actually own a pair of wellies. To our electric delight, he walked the whole farm with plastic bags over his shoes. These weren't any plastic bags, these were Marks and Spencer. Only the best, of course. To get a real feel of what people think of Josh, I asked some of the chaps from the farm what they think of him. Apparently they refer to him as God. He's rarely seen, he's holier than thou, and if he ever does any work, it's a bloody miracle. For the record, apparently it's not true. I'm not entirely sure what Emma sees in Josh. It is certainly not his dress sense. Over the years, I've seen Josh don many outfits, but unfortunately tonight I've only got time to mention the top three. In third place would have to be the white pashminas. Josh, what were you thinking? In second place would have to be the bright pink and yellow cords. Right, but in first place, by quite a long margin, well, they speak for themselves really, I'm not even going to say any more. The black... How many times, Josh? How many times have you put those on? Fancy dress. But on a serious note, all jokes aside, as I said earlier, I've known Josh for the best part of 23 years, and there isn't a better chap I'd like to be best man for. May I wish you all the happiness and luck in your new marriage, and it gives me great pleasure to ask you to stand, raise your glasses to the new Mr. and Mrs. Adams. Josh and Emma. Josh and Emma. Well, to me. Cheers, Emma.